Hello everyone and welcome to another video from me. So obviously you've been seeing that I've been doing more Percy Jackson content recently, and well, you know I love the books. I've got tattoos and everything of them in general, so you know how much I love them. So I want to recommend to everyone who also enjoys the Percy Jackson series a bunch of books that I think you should check out if you like Percy Jackson. Now first up are just a few obvious ones, and that is, if you haven't checked out outside of the Percy Jackson world, so that's nothing that is Percy Jackson, Heroes of Olympus or Trials of Apollo, you need to check out the Kane Chronicles and the Magnus Chase series. They are very different from Percy Jackson in that they are focusing on other mythologies. Kane Chronicles is Egyptian, Magnus Chase is Norse mythology, and they're just more... Basically, they're two series that I feel are criminally underrated in the Percy Jackson fandom. Predominantly due to the fact that it's known as the Percy Jackson fandom instead of the Riordanverse, but you know, that's a different conversation for a different day. So yes, if you haven't already checked out the Kane Chronicles and Magnus Chase, go do so now. As well as Trials of Apollo. Not many people have read the final series, so check that one out as well. Next up is another obvious one, and you'll have seen that I've interviewed quite a few of the authors from this particular imprint connected to the Riordanverse, and that is basically checking out the Rick Riordan Presents imprint authors. Now these are different authors from multiple different backgrounds who are focusing on mythologies that, you know, most of the time aren't usually focused on. We've got Korean mythology with Gracie Kim's The Last Fallen Star, check out my interview with her. We've got City of the Plague God by Sawat Chada, check out my interview with him here, and various different others. We've got West African mythology, we've got Hmong mythology, and I've done an interview with Laurie M. Lee as well recently, which I'll card, or I'll link all those down below as well. But the Rick Riordan Presents imprint is just something that is just criminally underutilized and under-focused in the fandom of those who enjoy books like Percy Jackson. They are incredible books and incredible series, and they deserve more attention than they're currently getting. So be sure to add those to your list. Next up, and away from a few obvious recommendations, I also recommend checking out TJ Young and the Orishas series by Antoine Vanderlei. Now you may recognise his name because he's a big YouTuber here, you know, just in general, but also I recommended him in my Avatar books list recommendations. TJ Young and the Gatekeeper Staff, which is the first book in the series, is just a book that feels so much like Percy Jackson but is its own thing at the same time, with interesting characters, brilliant magic systems, and a world that just feels so real. So if you want something that feels like Percy Jackson but is a little bit older, a little bit more, I don't want to say interesting, but something that goes more in depth to the world of the mythology in seemingly a more accurate way as well, because you guys know some of my opinions on how the Greek gods are portrayed in Percy Jackson. But TJ Young is just a brilliant book, and I can't wait for the rest of the series, so go check that out. Next up is one that isn't actually like mythology based or even magic based, but it has the sort of camaraderie, friendship aspect of being in a place that is secret from the outside world and kind of gives a different appearance to those who look at it, and that is the Gallagher Girls series by Ali Carter. Now this is possibly the biggest nostalgia series for me in general, because this is the series that I read as a kid. I didn't read Percy Jackson as a child. I was 19 when I first read the books, and Gallagher Girls for me in particular holds like a very special place in my heart. It is a girls' academy known as the Gallagher Girls Academy in a sense, that teaches young girls to become spies. And that premise alone, it should get you invested. Now, I believe personally that I think all genders will appreciate this series, but I do admit some of the characters, even for me, are a little bit much in some areas. But just in general, I think the series is just something that people who appreciate sort of group dynamics and friendships in particular with characters will really appreciate this series. And admittedly, even also the romantic development between characters in this series, it's just so well done. And I don't usually expect romances to be well done in middle grade or young adults. Well, young adult more so, but in middle grade sort of age range, I don't usually expect them to be that well done. And in this case, it was done really well. So if you're interested in spies, romance and secret academies, the Gallagher Girls is for you. Next up is the Dragon Warrior series by Katie Zhao. Now you may recognise Katie's name because I have done an interview with her as well for her upcoming Dark Academia thriller coming out in August, How We Fall Apart. I'll card that as well. But the Dragon Warrior series is one that also feels a little bit like Percy Jackson. Admittedly, it even feels like it could have been something that was part of the Riordan Presents imprint. So if you enjoy those books and Percy Jackson, you will really enjoy The Dragon Warrior. It is a series that follows a girl who wants to become a warrior for the Jade Society in San Francisco, but due to her father running away, she's been shunned by the society until she stumbles upon a demon and fights it in battle. And basically things just go chaotic from there. It's a really enjoyable middle grade series that I really got invested in, especially after speaking with Katie a little bit more. I wanted to read more of the series. There are 2 books for this in particular, and they are both really, really good, and I really enjoyed them. And also, just check out her other books as well. She's got many more coming out in the next coming years, and even this year I think she's got 2 coming out. But yeah, the Dragon Warrior series in particular I recommend if you like Percy Jackson. And last but not least, and I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, I apologise, the Gumiho series by Kat Cho. Now, oh my god, I've only recently started reading this series. I'm obsessed. Now, I will admit, I think this book will be for an audience a little bit older than middle grade, so probably around my age, admittedly. And I say a little older, I am 26, still reading the Percy Jackson series and doing a podcast for it, but, you know, besides the point. Now, Wicked Fox is the first book in this series, and I finished it recently, and that's why I'm recommending it, because, wow. So, our main character, Myung and Jihu, are just really fascinating characters, but the fact that Korean mythology plays a huge part in this story and romance in general is something that I really appreciated. And even though I not expected it, because obviously it's told in the blurb, but to get into it straight away, the opening chapter surprised me, and I'm not going to go any further than that because, well, I don't want to spoil anything, but just keep in mind, Gumihos, and I'm saying it wrong, I know, are fox spirits in Korean mythology, and let's just say, if anyone has seen Jamie Chung in Lovecraft Country, you'll have an idea. That's all I'm gonna say. Though probably not that violent, but it's just a really interesting story. It's an interesting look at Korean mythology, and particularly about and this is the thing, mythology usually focuses on the good characters sort of situation, or the good gods in a sense. To focus on a creature that has a particular reputation is a really interesting way to go, and I really appreciated how this started and how it continues. Yeah, I don't want to go in too much more into it, so yes, check out the Gumiho series by Kat Cho. And that is my list for you today. If you enjoy the Percy Jackson series, I'll say 90% sure you'll enjoy the rest of these books I have recommended. If you have any books yourself that you think are the perfect connection to Percy Jackson, be sure to let me know in the comment section down below. I would love to hear your recommendations and your thoughts on this list as well. As always, I want to thank you all so much for joining me for this video. If you want to support me, check out the links in my description box to all of my social media, my merchandise store and my Patreon, where if you want to support me in more ways, that is the place to do so. Can't support me financially, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, drop a thumbs up or thumbs down if you want to, leave a comment, share for the algorithm's sake, and again, yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.